Welcome to another episode of Red Light Sports Ramble, presented by the Red Light Sports Network. I am Troy Otradovic, as always, joined by the wonderful Evan Watallison out in Wisconsin. How's the weather out there today, Evan? It is beautiful out here in Pennsylvania today. The warm Wisconsin, so it's warm out there.
About 50 degrees, yeah. Got my car washed today, so my car's looking really nice. Now I just hope it doesn't rain tonight or tomorrow, being that I just got it washed.
Oh, it will.
But unfortunately, they are calling for more snow come Wednesday and colder temperatures. But hey, if I wasn't on my way to the BMO Harris Bradley Center for the Bucks versus Orlando Magic today, I would be outside enjoying it. I'd probably go for a quick run when I got home. But, work calls and I got to go to the Bradley Center.
Well, that's great. Go there, support the Bucks. We had a guest on about Save Our Bucks. So, go in there, support them. I know that we're in the tank mode, but you still got to go.
Well, I'm not going as a fan. I'm going as a media.
Well, I know, but you're still going to support them. I know you're not going to be jumping up and down, but still going to go there and support them. I know you're going there for the media. I know that, bud. So, well, we want to start the show today. I know that I'm going to tease you a little bit because one of our former guests, Tony Lynn Starr, who actually has recorded an album or a CD. I call it an album. I'm aging myself. But she had sent us out some CDs and some other things, and I got mine before yours, Evan. So ha ha ha. I got my CDs today, and I'm going to listen to them.
Yeah, that would have been great to listen. Would have been great to listen to on my way to the Bradley Center tonight, but I'll get mine later this week.
Yeah, well, I'm going to listen to mine on the way home. So we do have to give a shout out to Tony Lynn Starr. She was a great guest. Talked about her website, fanaddictfemale.com. It's a great website, not only for females, Evan. I don't know if you had a chance to go on there, but there's a lot of stuff on there. And, it is geared toward the female fan, but a lot of guys follow racing. And, if you ever want to get your girlfriend or wife or even a sister or just a friend, something that is, NASCAR related for a female, a lot of great products on there. Her CDs are on there. So I got to give my props to Tony Lynn Starr. I had tweeted out a picture too, Evan, that she loves the Red Light Ramble, and I was joking with her that once you're a guest on our show, you become a Rambler for life because you are stuck with me and you for the rest of your life. So you're not getting away from us once you become a guest. Maybe that's why some people don't respond to us when we ask them if they want to be a guest. They know they're going to have to put up with us forever. But moving on, we'll stay on NASCAR. We're doing a week.
Speaking of guests for life, we have a guest confirmed for Thursday's show. Speaking of guests, we have a David Radcliffe coming back, but we're gonna stick to NASCAR really quick first. Yeah,
we'll just go over the results real quick. Keselowski won yesterday, overtook Dale Earnhardt Jr. as he ran out of gas, and so Keselowski came in first. Earnhardt Jr. in second. Paul Menard was third, followed by Joey Logano in fourth. And rounding out the top five was Carl Edwards. So we're still early in the NASCAR season, Evan, but I know it's something that we wanted to incorporate into the Red Light Sports Ramble. Now we kind of have, I don't want to call her an insider, but Tony Lynn Starr traveling to some of these races to be able to have her on the show when she's there live at the racetrack will be wonderful for the Ramble. So, Tony, we look forward to having you on the show again.
Yes, it will.
But moving on, Evan, this is our weekend recap on Monday. And for Badger fans, they had a chance yesterday. I think you and I were talking, and it was an outside chance of getting a number one seed. And at the time, if you remember, I wasn't jumping on that bandwagon because I just didn't feel that they would be a number one seed. But then over the course of the weekend, Arizona loses, Kansas loses. And I'm sitting here before the game starts last night going, if we win this game, it is now a real possibility that the Badgers can be a number one seed. And they just flushed that right down the pooper. Just flushed it down the pooper last night. So let's talk about it a little bit, Evan. It was a frustrating game. I watched it, and I'll tell you what. that game, Nebraska, I'm going to give them credit. They hung in there. They played a good game. Most likely that win, if they can win their first round game next week, our second round game, they get a bye now. If they can win that game, I think they're going to get a bid. But Wisconsin let them hang around, and
I think they're in for sure now.
Wisconsin let them hang around, and I was worried halfway through the first half. I was not even drinking any adult beverages, by the way. I was pulling my hair out, going, "Why are you letting this team? Why are you letting this team stick in this game?" I just had this feeling they're going to lose because of the way they were playing. Not just a feeling. It was the play on the court, and I'll let you talk about that. What is your assessment of that game yesterday? And then we're going to get into a topic that our one of our loyal listeners, Gene, had tweeted out this morning about Sam Decker, but you may incorporate that into your analysis yesterday. Gene wanted to know what's up with Sam Decker. And so let's talk about the game, Evan. What did you think of the game yesterday?
Well, you hit on something where you were just saying that when Eugene filled in for you last week, him and I were talking Badger basketball and the possibility of them getting a one seed or not. And I had brought up that a concern I have with this Badger team is their inability to close out games, inability to put teams away. Because the past few games they've had lately have been much, much closer than they've had to. They couldn't put Purdue away. They couldn't put Penn State away. They got the win, but those teams hung in there till the end. So that's just an issue Wisconsin has had during their 8-game win streak, which was kind of hidden with the winning, was their inability to close out a team, and Nebraska wouldn't go away. And Nebraska was hyped up for this game. This was probably the biggest home game Nebraska's ever had. This isn't your 3-4 year ago Nebraska team. This coach that they have has done a marvelous job rebuilding this Nebraska program into something respectable. And I think they did earn a at-large bid, regardless of what they do on Friday, with their win yesterday. And Bo Ryan said it himself that this team is in the tournament now. Wisconsin just did what Wisconsin's been doing. They, especially during that little hiccup in the middle of the year that they had, they struggled to defend the hoop. Frank Kaminsky on defense was nowhere to be found protecting the hoop. Nebraska is able to drive to the basket unattended, multiple times. Sam Decker has little interest, if any, playing defense. Trayvon Jackson, little interest in playing defense yesterday. The best defender Wisconsin has is Gossard. Gossard's the best defender the Badgers have on their team, and he can't do it on his own. Ben Brust is limited defensively, and that showed yesterday. Decker, like I said, has no interest in playing defense. That showed yesterday as he, I believe, only got 24 minutes yesterday. He had a few stretches where he was on the bench, especially late in the game. And, Trayvon Jackson spent time on the bench due to foul trouble. And, Wisconsin just never looked comfortable in that arena. Nebraska jumped out to an early lead. I believe it was like 10-3 at one point. And Wisconsin came storming back, took the lead, went into halftime with the 1-point lead, I believe. Jumped out to a 7-point lead early in the second half, and then Nebraska cut it close. Wisconsin got, I believe, a 5-point lead. Nebraska got back into it, and next thing you know, Nebraska is up by 7, then 9 points towards the end of the game. And, now we get to hear the debate nonstop again about fans rushing the court because, Nebraska rushed it big time in their student section. They're not positioned at a point that they can get on access to the court easily. So with about 2 minutes to go in the game, I don't know if you noticed this, but it looked like a lot of Nebraska fans were starting to leave. But that wasn't the case as they came storming on the court. But very lackluster effort on the defensive side. On the offensive side, they struggled to make free throws. I think Nigel Hayes went like 6 for 12, something like that. Some ridiculous number like that. I know he's like 50%. And they could just never close out the game. And if Wisconsin's going to play this way come NCAA tournament time, and we'll touch on this in a little bit, if they play like this come tournament time, they're not getting by opening day, let alone opening weekend.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of good points. I think there's one glaring weakness in this team, Evan, and I'll let you chime in. We talked a little bit about it on the pre-show, and it was evident in the losing streak. Defensively, we cannot defend the paint. Nebraska has guards that can drive and lay it in. Those are the teams that give this Badger team fits. And if nobody's going to step up and be a strong defender in the paint and try to take a charge or move their feet to defend the layup, we're going to lose in the second round. Because a team that plays exactly like Wisconsin, that has a half-court set with guards that can drive the hoop, like you said, will give us fits, especially if we're not hitting our shots on the offensive end. And it was a glaring weakness yesterday, and that's why I give Nebraska credit. Where did they attack, Evan? Where did they keep attacking? Where did they attack when the game was on the line? They went right to the hoop. They didn't settle for a 20-foot jump shot. They drove it right to the rim, and we couldn't defend it. Same glaring weakness that we've had all season. I hope we get matched up against a team that wants to run and try to put 100 points on the board. We can beat that team. The team that has that good, nifty, quick point guard that can drive the hoop is going to kill us in the tournament. That's my 2 cents. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you nailed it right in the head. I'm not worried about Wisconsin playing a team that's going to run it up and down the court, run the old, Princeton offense is what you commonly hear. I'm not worried about that team playing Wisconsin because the way Wisconsin plays their game, they make those teams uncomfortable. Wisconsin forces them to play a half-court set, use up the play clock, the shot clock, almost did a football analogy there, use up the shot clock, take a shot with under 10 seconds to go on it, and get back on defense to limit the transition offense. That's Wisconsin's bread and butter. That's been their bread and butter since even Dick Bennett's been. So when you have a team that likes to run it up and down the court, Wisconsin can make those teams uncomfortable. Now, when you get a team like a Nebraska, or Wisconsin beat Michigan State earlier in the year, or Michigan State, those teams like playing half-court sets on offense, and they have guards that can penetrate. And as you saw last night with Nebraska, they can't defend those guards going after the hoop. The Badgers have a 7-footer in Frank Kaminsky who doesn't play like he's 7 feet tall. And sometimes Wisconsin needs Frank Kaminsky, as great as he can be shooting the basketball from the three-point line and defending that three-point line. We need our 7-footer defending the basket, blocking shots, stopping the drive lane, forcing the other team to pass it back out and take a longer jump shot or take shots that they're not comfortable making. That's what you need Frank Kaminsky to be. And during their 8-game winning streak, Frank Kaminsky was doing that. The last night, he disappeared underneath the hoop. During that stretch of losing, he disappeared. And the other guy that vanished, who they need to step up if they want to get past, as I said, before, opening day, let alone opening weekend, if they want to move past and get to the Sweet 16 and possibly the Elite Eight, they need Sam Decker to step up. Sam Decker, he's been non-existent pretty much since the 16, pretty much since the Iowa game. He has 3 straight games where he hasn't scored in double figures, and he was supposed to be the best player on the court. 3 straight games not scoring in double figures, 3 straight games of not shooting the ball very well. He's disappeared in wins. He's disappeared in losses. And he's got no interest, it seems like, at times in playing defense. People are just able to go right past him. So I think you nailed it right on the head about the weaknesses and what they need to do to get back to where what they're doing there in their 8-game win streak. Is they need Frank Kaminsky to step it up again, and they need Decker to appear on the basketball court. But fortunately, Decker played really, really well prior to the conference slate, and he's been struggling pretty much since the conference has started. Maybe going back to non-conference games, NCAA tournament, maybe Sam Decker's going to turn it on and be that player he was back in November and December, and not so much when he's been in late January, February, and now March.
Well, I can say this, Evan, and I'm not going to disagree with you that he's disappeared. The thing that frustrates me is that he'll have a couple of minutes in the game. I can't remember who gave him the ball, but there was a play on the baseline. He was set up outside, set up near the three-point line, and he kind of edged his way into the hoop. And I'm not sure if it was Kaminsky that drove, but then fed the ball off to him, and he went up strong and had a big two-hand slam. That was the movement off the ball I like to see, but the majority of the time what I've been seeing lately is no movement offensively from him, which then translates to defensively him not doing anything either. Like I said, I'm not defending him. I think he's played like crap the second half of the season. He needs to step it up. But what frustrates me about that is you're not just going to bench the guy because he'll give you certain spurts in the game where you can say there's the Sam Decker of old, but he's so inconsistent with it. That's my frustration. It's not that he's just overall playing like crap the whole game. He shows me a couple minutes here and there, and then he does nothing. I don't know what to do, and that's the old thing as a coach. I mean, I remember as a coach having to deal with that. Other than being in the kid's ear the whole time, you got to figure out what's going to get it done, and it just seems like right now Bo Ryan can't do anything to get this guy to play a full 40 minutes. And I'll go back to something you had said.
Decker had a really strong second half against Indiana. And Bo Ryan was, I just didn't mean to cut you off there, but I think you just brought up a point that a perfect segue to saying this. Against Indiana, when Wisconsin was down, I think it was, they only scored 19 first-half points against Indiana, and they're down by double digits. Bo Ryan said to Decker that these fans paid good money to watch you play, so why don't you give them what they paid for? And Decker turned around and scored, I believe it was 14 points in that game. 12 of them in the second half.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
Talking about that spurt that you just brought up.
Yeah, I need 40 minutes out of the guy. This team's going to have to play 40 minutes of basketball. It goes back to what you've been saying, Evan. They got to close the damn game out. What they have, they had the lead against Nebraska in the second half, and they couldn't close. They couldn't close it out like you said. And if they're not going to do that against Nebraska, how can I be so sure that they're going to do it when the tournament rolls around? I can't. And that's the frustrating part as a fan. What team is going to show up? The team that can play 40 minutes or the team that's going to let a team not so good hang around and then we're going to give it up at the end because there's two Wisconsin Badger heads out there. There's the really good team that's one of the best in the country. Then there's the other one that doesn't know what the hell's going on. So that's all I got about the Badgers. You have anything else about the Badgers, buddy?
Yeah, last thing I want to close out saying regarding Wisconsin is everyone keeps saying how this isn't your Bo Ryan teams of the past, and some people are saying same old Badgers, and people are saying no, it's not. Well, yeah, it's not the same old Badgers because in years past, Wisconsin, they may not have had a power for offense, which they've had this year, but their defense could lock down anybody. They shut down Duke a number of years ago at the Kohl Center. They shut down Duke, but back in the past, like I said, they could shut down anybody on defense, but that's why it's not the same old Badgers because they can't stop anybody when it matters most. So I guess that's all I have to say last about Wisconsin.
Yeah, well let's move on to something a little bit more positive here with just over 10 minutes to go in the show. Let's talk a little bit about Wisconsin-Whitewater. We had Kevin Cunningham on, editor of the Royal Purple Sports. Wisconsin-Whitewater had a pretty good weekend, Evan.
That they did.
And they're moving on a little bit. The nice thing is the men had to had some tough games, but when we look at Whitewater, it's holding true. The both teams playing really good basketball, being able to move on into the NCAA Division III Sweet 16. I mean, that is a good accomplishment for both programs to be able to move forward. And the women had to do it on the road and in a pretty tough bracket.
Yeah.
So I'm really impressed with what the Lady Hawks did. The men, we kind of figured that they were going to move through their bracket. The problem is, like Kevin had said on Friday, Stevens Point also moved through their bracket, and most likely after game number 1, hopefully Whitewater wins, knock on wood. They're playing good basketball right now. That's going to set up the showdown with Wisconsin-Stevens Point in the Elite Eight game. So what are your thoughts on Division III hoops right now, Bud?
It was a good weekend for Whitewater and a good weekend for the state overall. I'm not sure how Oshkosh did for women's, if you want to check that out for me really quick. But both Whitewaters won. I believe Carthage College won, Stevens Point won, Carthage women's team. So I think overall it was a great weekend for Wisconsin sports in general, minus what Wisconsin did. So, props to Whitewater. They, won, both games, both programs did, and, it was great to see. And hopefully, we see Stevens Point, Whitewater again in the Elite Eight, and hopefully Whitewater prevailing this time. And another, Wisconsin sports, University of Wisconsin Parkside, they advanced to Division II. The Division II NCAA tournament with a win over the weekend. Not with the win over the weekend during the selection show. They advanced to the NCAA tournament as well. So it's looking good with Wisconsin basketball right now on the lower levels.
Well, I just pulled up the women's bracket on NCAA.com, and Wisconsin-Oshkosh won. Guess who they play, Bud? Any idea?
Pardon?
Guess who Oshkosh plays?
They're going to be Whitewater.
It's Wisconsin-Whitewater versus Wisconsin-Oshkosh in the Sweet 16, and we know why they do it. It would be nice. It would be nice if they didn't have to do it because of travel and regional play. I had the same thing as a coach in D3. The tournaments are all based regionally when you first start. And what that does is it really congests some of the brackets. I mean, the Carthage team has to play DePauw, and so you're looking at this side of the bracket. You got Oshkosh, Whitewater, Carthage, and DePauw. That's a pretty strong bracket over there. That's some good. Those are some good games.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I like the D3 tournament so much, Evan. Is you're seeing great games in round 1, round 2. Not that I don't like the big Division I tournament with the 1 versus the 16 as I cheer for the underdog. But in Division III, you are getting some really good games in the early rounds. I mean, you had Wisconsin and St. Thomas playing in the second round in women's basketball. It was a great game. Didn't get to watch it, but those two, get together. You're having some really good basketball early in the tournament. And again, to go back, there's good basketball in March Madness for Division I. But when you got, this will be the segue into our last section here with just over 5 minutes to go. A Wisconsin-Green Bay matched up against a Duke. I mean, that is David and Goliath playing. And, there's, Wisconsin-Green Bay does have a hope if that would be. I'm not saying that's what the matchup will be, but I think you know what I'm saying there. You get a mid-major against a powerhouse Division I, power conference. It's not really supposed to be a game. It is a seeding. Whereas in Division III, you're getting regional matchups against really good teams. But that leads me into the segue. The one team also that I'm not really going to say that they disappointed because they've been having a really good year and they won the regular season title. But Wisconsin-Green Bay dropped their game in the Horizon League, so they didn't get the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament, Evan. Do you still think Wisconsin Green Bay?
They're not going at all.
Do you think they're going to get a bid to the big dance?
No, they're not. They're not getting a bid at all to the NCAA tournament. You were using the argument with Wichita State and getting the 1 seed about strength of schedule. That's going to be what kills. That's going to be what kills UW Green Bay is that strength of schedule that they had. They didn't really play anybody that impressive this year. They had to win the Horizon League tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. And to be honest, I don't like that because, for a mid-major team, it's win the conference tournament or bust. Like if you can win the regular season title and it doesn't mean a thing. If you lose in the championship game or you lose in the semifinals, like UW Green Bay did, it doesn't mean anything. Now, props to UW-Milwaukee. UW-Milwaukee played a great game. Props to them. Tip my hat off to them. Rob Jeter has done an outstanding job getting that team to this point. This is a team that was predicted to finish last in the Horizon League. They're predicted to finish dead last, and he has them in the Horizon League championship game. But I do think UW Green Bay should have at least got a at-large bid, being that they won the regular season title. But now they're going to be going NIT bound.
Yeah,
there's anything wrong with the NIT, but it's not the NCAA tournament.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. It's definitely not the NCAA tournament. And we were talking about this before the show started about Wisconsin Green Bay and the strength of schedule, and I can't be hypocritical about it. That's my reasoning for Wichita State not being a number 1 seed, and I'm right on board with you. I don't think Green Bay will get in because of that strength of schedule. It's unfortunate. Now does the conference play into that? Of course it does. But again, based on the season, based on the Horizon League, it is year in and year out, unless you're going to get your team ranked in the top 25 during the season, you pretty much have to win the Horizon League tournament to get the automatic bid, because Green Bay's strength of schedule is 145. I just looked it up on CBS Sports. And their RPI rank, which might help them, but it's only 63. So the RPI is 63.
Yeah, that's going to hurt them too.
Strength of schedule 145. I'm with you. I don't see him getting in. Go Milwaukee. You got to cheer for Milwaukee at this point, but I just don't see Green Bay getting in. Do they deserve it? Well, people can argue yes, just
90 seconds.
Just like people will argue yes that Wichita State deserves.
Well, Milwaukee's not in yet.
No, that's why. But that's why I said go.
Milwaukee's not in yet. They still got to win the.
No, that's why I said go Milwaukee. They got to win. Go Milwaukee. I want them to win. I want.
Okay.
I want them to represent. I want them to represent. I want them getting the bid, because they're not getting in if they don't win either. Whoever wins, they need to win to get in. So, but that brings us to the end of another great show, buddy. We will let the listeners know. Actually, I'll let you tell the listeners what's in store for tomorrow, as we've our scheduling our shows goes. But you can fill the listeners in as to what we're going to be talking about tomorrow on Tuesday.
Well, tomorrow is Packer Tuesday, and with Sam Shields signing his contract, we're going to digest that a little bit, talk about that. NFL free agency starts tomorrow, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of signings for us to talk about as well when the show hits. But tune in tomorrow for an awesome show where it's going to be Packer talk, obviously sprinkled in with NFL talk. So, and then, like I was saying, Thursday we have Dave Radcliffe joining us again on Thursday.
10 seconds.
Wisconsin and the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament. So it's going to be another great week for the Red Light Sports Network.
Yeah, you gotta love it. So those people that are listening, actually call in tomorrow. Packer fans listening, call in. Tomorrow will be a great show to call in, because we're talking Packers, we're talking NFL free agency, we're going to talk Sam Shields, we're going to talk about who should the Packers look at, who's been cut tonight because the cuts are coming, Evan. It is going to be NFL football, Green Bay Packers on Tuesday. It will be Packer Talk on the Red Light Sports Ramble, which is always presented by the Red Light Sports Network. With that said, everyone, hope you enjoyed the show today. We will see you at the next red light. We will get back at you tomorrow.